So, hey everyone, we are live now. So, hey everyone, I welcome you all to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is 3 April 2024, and we will be discussing on features, issues, and announcements by different community members and maintainers and contributors. So, for those who are new to today's meeting, Mishri is a CNCF project. See, Mishri is a sandbox project which helps you to manage your cloud native infrastructure in different environments, helps you to manage your infrastructure, multi-cluster infrastructure also collaboratively. So, before starting, I would like to encourage if you are new to today's meeting, you can introduce yourself or open your webcams also. So let me introduce myself. I'm Yash, and I'm today's host of Mystery Development Meeting. And I'm contributing here since around 12 months and more than that. I contribute in the area of front end and back end both. So if you have any questions regarding that, you can connect with me. So if there is any new person who new to today's meeting who would like to go and introduce themselves, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Oh, hey, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, myself, Abhiram, I'm a second year student. I have been working in DevOps for a while and I'm quite interested in this project.
Oh, that's great, Abhi. Yeah, sure. We will be discussing many things around that area. So, sure. Thank you,
Yeah,
Abhiram.
thanks a lot.
Anyone else who would like to go? Kunal, I wonder you are first time joining today's meeting.
Hello everyone. My name is Kunal Duggar, currently pursuing from Bitspilani, and I'm new to the open source. Basically, my technology include the front end part like React, Material UI, and XJS. I'm finding the issues to show my skills in the open source.
Great. So you live in Plani, right? Okay.
Yeah, if he does, he's not telling you.
Okay. So I think others are uh, old ones. So let's jump to the meeting minutes or let's jump to the meeting agendas. Before also that, please make sure that you add your names in the attendees list. I will share the link of the document in the comment section so that you can add your names in the attendees list. So let's jump to the topics. So Ripple, would you like to share about your update on the Mishi CTL?
Yeah, sure. So the the first update is about the moving the package model mystery models mystery CTL model command under the model package. Before it was under the system package. So this one is related to that. And in this there is a update regarding the export of the models. The other command is it's a new feature for the workspace command. By this, the user will be able to create workspace by providing its organization ID. So the one is related to the relationships command. So for now, we only have the sub commands for relationship to view. Like for example, there will be a multiple for we can view the relationship by the model's name, just like for Kubernetes, we have multiple relationships. For that, we can see it in the JSON or as well as in the YAML format. The other one is regarding the environment command. This command will also help the users to create the environment by providing the uh, organization ID, the name of the environment, and the description of the environment. And the last one is regarding the creating the docs for the relationships. So this PR has been merged today. Yeah. Yeah, Rapul, say a little bit more about this PR if you would. Maybe maybe give a demo of it if
Yeah.
you can.
For this PR, right now, what this PR is doing is fetching the data from the Google Sheets and storing it inside the
storing it inside the includes data part. And there is a second PR by Archit in which he has demoed the tables creation. I, I have a video for it.
Nice.
Is it visible?
It is. Holy moly. Huh. That's creative. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Mhm. Is our chit on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Credit goes to
Yeah, I'm
Archit.
on the meet.
Wow. Pretty interesting. Huh. Does anything anybody else have ideas as to how, or Archit or Rapul or anybody else, do you guys have ideas as to how maybe we might represent this info?
The info that's under the details.
Yeah, or everything, the whole thing. Either way. So just to help everyone else ideate on this for a moment, what's happening here is there's some auto documentation happening. So Rapul, if you happen to have the Meshery integration spreadsheet handy, maybe you could we could show that to everybody. So one of the ways in which you all contribute, we all contribute to Meshery is to use a Google Sheet, which I don't know, which is not entirely conventional, but it sure does make a lot of sense once you start to understand the problem that's being solved with this Google Sheet. So Meshery has a couple hundred, 250-ish or something integrations. That means that it speaks to that many different technologies or that many different projects, that many different pieces of infrastructure. Could be an AWS service, could be a CNCF project, anything that describes itself as a resource in Kubernetes language, in Kubernetes API language. And so each of those 250 integrations have each project or each of them describe themselves well. They describe their resources as custom resources, and we call these models. So each integration, we call them a model. Inside of each integration or inside of each model, there is on average, or last time I checked, there is an average of 8 components, 8 custom resources that each of these, each line item, each row that you see here. So the first row, Azure Active Directory. You're able to configure part of Azure AD using Meshery and using Kubernetes custom resources. Well, how many custom resources does Azure AD expose? Well, on the components sheet, if I can direct Rapul's mouse, it would show us that there are maybe none that we're tracking right now, or maybe some, and maybe it's in a different order. But, or there it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. When you average them out, some of them have like 30, 40, 50 resources. Some of them have 1. They have between 1 and 50-ish. When you average it out, it's like 8 each. Anyway, it's a lot of items to track. And as we go to curate these integrations, us contributors go through and add a color code, we add a shape to it, and we add descriptions about the integration. And it's a lot of curation, a lot of additional metadata to add to describe these resources, to describe the models that are there. Oh, wow. I mean, it's thousands, right? Thousands of rows. And to do it through Git commits, well, eventually, I guess it's our hope that we would get there. Right now, it is so much easier to do that through a spreadsheet like this, so much. And so we've integrated with this spreadsheet in a few different ways. One of the ways in which we've integrated is what Rapul was just showing. So there's a relationships sheet, and all of you have been describing these various ways in which each of the components that are inside of those different models, how they relate to one another, and how Meshery should interpret that, and how Meshery should treat those relationships and visualize them as well. And that's described right here. It's and all of the code that describes that is right here. Actually, it's like column L or something, column M or N. It just all gets put into a JSON doc, and that JSON doc gets published into the Meshery repository. And now, based on the work that Rapul was just showing with our chit, it gets published to Meshery docs. So it becomes sort of a self-documenting piece of work. Great. Okay, so then as all of the rest of us come to understand what these relationships are, how many there are, what components relate to one another, in what way they relate. If you go back to the documentation, the sort of question that all of us are going to be asking ourselves when we go to visit that documentation page, if you go back to that video, it's going to be things like, people are more or less going to want to have a reference. They might want to understand, hey, what all relationships are possible for a particular model, like Kubernetes in this case, and a component like a pod. And what all relationships what can a Kubernetes pod have? Okay, well, this page doesn't have to be super fancy, like in terms of being an index and searchable and browsable and a tree shape and all this stuff. Like actually, if you open up Meshery, there is a tree to browse, and you can search and you can find duplicates, and like there's tools that Meshery has in understanding these relationships that you can use inside of Meshery. There's some in Meshery UI, some in MeshMap. There's tools that Meshery will say, well, here's all of the possible relationships, and Meshery will also say, here's all of the potential relationships. So great, if you really want to know all this and you want to search through it and understand, open up Meshery and use the tool, it'll tell you. If you're looking for a reference, then this can be quite helpful. You might want this data for different things. All right, so that's the context. Now we can all successfully ideate a little bit about the display of this. There was some creativity put into how to summarize and collapse a lot of that JSON into these details. Guys, it's extremely duplicative what we have. If you scroll to the rightmost column, or yeah, it's a video, so I guess you can't do that. Anyway, you know, like the rightmost column, if it has the full JSON document, then it's redundant of the rest of it. And that can be okay because you might want to grab the document and do something with it, while your eyes might want to read over a prettified version of that. We might be able to, yeah. Thoughts?
The other thing that we can do, just take the model that is from the selectors.allow field, which will tell us from this particular component, we are having the relationship with this number of components. And by showing the type, subtype of that, instead of showing these details section. For knowing the JSON, the contributor or the user can search inside the Meshery repository.
That's nice. That's a nice idea, because that particular piece of information, like, which I'll repeat, it's for a given component, like a Kubernetes pod, how many relationships does it support? And just kind of having a list of that. Like, even if it was just a simple list where it doesn't have any other details, yeah, that could be, I think there's value in that. one of the questions that it answers is the fact that the Jaeger trace isn't represented and doesn't yet have a relationship. Like it answers other questions at the same time. Does anyone else have? That's a great idea. And not all of that. It doesn't have to be amazing from the start. But the reason that I'm interjecting for a moment and soliciting feedback from everyone is because perhaps this isn't quite where we want to start. You guys have done a great job of summarizing a ton of info into a small space, but I wonder if you're able to navigate it. I wonder if it's too much. And I wonder if there isn't some other way.
Instead of showing this information here, what we can do is the way we have like individual pages for each of the models. So in that individual pages, we can like pass these relationships, and for those particular models, so the basically improvising on the fact that people say. So for each model, what are the relationships that are being supported, and also a top level summary of okay, for this particular model, these are the these X number of relationships are supported, and then we can at the end we can also have the specific configuration, like okay, what is the thing that gets updated, or uh, the details of it.
Right. Anybody else have thoughts?
So you basically mean that creating a single page for every each and every relationship, right?
No,
For
no,
each model.
No.
Nope, I'll let you guys. Okay, go ahead and explain. Go ahead.
Okay. Or I was saying like the way we have like models page for each individual model, we have a page. So there we can like show this information instead of having a separate page for only this table.
Okay, got that. Yeah, that's something we can do.
Sorry, when you say it like that, Archit, it's like it's not very confidence inspiring. It's more like, oh, yeah. Anyway, cool. Rapul, you should Yash, we should go to the next topic, if you don't mind, unless anybody else has an idea. But yeah,
Okay.
Rapul, if you don't mind pointing out a page to him.
Pointing out.
Oh, just sending him a link to one of the pages, the model pages. And so the next topic is Bamanji. Bamanji, are you on? Oh no. We are meant to embarrass him today with this sweet, sweet badge. So I don't know that Bamanji is on right now, but I'll be happy to receive his award on his behalf. Thank you. No, thank you. I'd like to thank, anyway, as I accept this award. So Bamanji is a contributor, relatively new contributor here, had picked up an open issue that is well, somewhat DevOps related. There's some amount of awareness of Kubernetes and the workflows that run on Kubernetes. So it's not a coding contributor engagement. And as a matter of fact, historically, we've not had as many of these as we need. We need more of this type of thing. We recently, as a project, put up about 8 different open help requests for DevOps-centric work. And there have been a few contributors who've stepped in and just being really helpful. Sangram is on the call. He's one of them. It's clear there's so many needs in this area. We should be describing these things much better. Anyway, there's almost an endless number of this specific request needed. Bamanji is helping curate the Meshery catalog. So briefly, as people go to describe infrastructure, and various configurations of that infrastructure or various configurations of applications. They, well, they do so, and when they've got one that's decent or reusable, or they think is something that can be shared and others might find value in, they can choose to publish that design to the Meshery catalog, and they'll show up here. Bemanje has been doing, gosh, did like 6 of them in the last couple days. And so there are in it, and so they get published out here, and there's much of a need for that. And if you do stuff like that, well, the community has created badges like this. So a recognition of the fact that he's pumping out design patterns. And so hopefully this is something we might find on his GitHub profile at one point or another. And there's a collection of badges, if you're not aware. And there's new badges that we need to make. So some of you might have ideas on new badges, but there's a collection of them out here. No one has the whole set yet. And for my part, it's a little bit embarrassing. There's a number of you who are way past me, which is really cool. But anyway, so that's what that's about. We wanted to both look at the work that was being done, some of the sample apps that are being produced, and recognize Bemanje. Perhaps, so this is basic, so a call for volunteers, by the way, on this issue and many others like it. This particular issue can be copied and pasted a few times. Each of those 250 something integrations that Meshery has, there would ideally be example content, example patterns, sample apps, sample integrations. They can be super small from like one component to however many components you can fit in. So there's a lot of that's needed. The more of that, the more helpful it is as new users come and they find more value out of the tool because because there's just handy examples sitting nearby. We should duplicate this a time or two. Hey, I'm going to move the next topic down so that people don't have to listen to my voice longer than they already have. Is Anis here by chance? I don't think he is. But Anis is working on relationships for Argo CD. And we were just talking about relationships a second ago. We have Matthew. Are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, there he is. Oh, very good. Yeah, Matthew, are you inclined to chat through a couple of items that you're working on? Be good.
Yes. So for the first one, it was a call in Slack where the nightly build was had some issue. So I just take a look and I saw that there were missing space in the if part here. So I started just to add here it's at the end of the if we need a space just after the double quote of Postgres. So that was the fix I pushed in my pull request, but just taking a look, I found that using an array could be more readable to see what we're trying to do here. So basically in the script, we were looping on a list of namespace, and if the namespace was not in that list, we were deleting the namespace. So instead of put a lot of if namespace is blah blah blah, I just create an array with the list of the namespace we don't want to delete, and then the if it just validates that the namespace is not in that list. It's does not contains or is not in instead of a lot of and. I think it's more readable like this. We just
I see.
so that was for that pull request, and the second one.
Yeah, Matthew,
Yes.
really fast. I don't think that you'll find any argument with what you just said, or that right. It's much more readable, very helpful. I was just going to offer up really briefly context for what the bash script is doing, and maybe you.
Yes, the bash script, when I'm looking, it's when we run the playground build nightly build. Basically, I think that it's looking for all the namespaces in the Kubernetes cluster. And then for each namespace, it's checking, is it in those name in this list? If it is the namespace, kube system, default, monitoring, or anything else. And if it is in that namespace, it does nothing, and it's cleaning all the others.
Very good.
Yeah. You understand it?
Thanks a bunch for that. Yeah, this is just a slide showing the very simple deployment of the current playground that's out there. The current playground is just a single bare metal server with so it's a single node Kubernetes cluster. And yep, lots of folks sign in every day and play around in the playground as a sandbox environment. There's various ways to sort of reset that Kubernetes environment, each day or whenever. The approach that we're taking currently is, on a nightly basis, go through, like identify, I guess, the namespaces that you were just putting into an array. We identify those as being safe, or don't delete, don't flush those, but basically. And so, Matthew, as you spend more and more time engaging and contributing and forming more and more of an opinion and things, I would put that topic onto the table for discussion about to ask the question like, hey, is that the best way? Is that always going to work for us? Like, is that the best approach to resetting the sandbox? And as that question sits out there, and you and maybe Sangram and Jared and others think about it, I'll note that this particular bare metal server it runs in an Equinix data center. And so it is programmatically controllable from pre-operating system, like from hardware on up. And so it's automatable to install the OS and install Kubernetes and I don't know that we need to do that. I'm just saying, hey, that environment's very programmable, and I put that out there. And there's some work that maybe Sangram will speak to later on the call that might touch on this again. So,
just a question, a quick question. In my day-to-day, I'm the first one who doing everything as code. So when it's deployed, you tell that it can do. I don't know what how it's deployed. Is it scripts? Is it from a framework like Ansible or Sol?
Yeah, that's a great
anything like that. Because if it's a tool like that, it could just rewrite everything from scratch in one deployment, and we don't have to do things like that. But yes, we could think about it.
That's most welcomed. It isn't. It has been, it was brought up by hand. It was petted.
Okay, it's made by Anne currently, and okay, it's something that I can help for.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you. Chris, would you like to go next on integration with Artifact Hub? Is Chris with us?
Yeah, sure. Basically, with the integration with Artifact Hub, they were waiting for Meshery side to push up a like a sample repository that matches the kind of directory structure and contained the metadata that Artifact Hub expects when it when it scrapes a repository for artifacts. In this case, the Meshery designs. So we kind of manually put together a repository with a single design in it. Talked through a few of the questions that came up kind of just as we were working through that process, and just merged that into the schemas repository. And so that got merged in, and then we let the Artifact Hub team know. And I'm actually just checking. So they responded. I mentioned them on the ticket that we created on the Artifact Hub side. And then I commented on the ticket to let them know the repository was ready. And then the maintainers from that side basically said that 2 days ago, they commented that they'd be looking to integrate with that repository this week and add support for the Meshery designs. So I think right now I was kind of waiting to hear back from them in case they ran into anything or like there was anything unexpected. But if the sort of most basic integration works, if they come back and they say this structure looks fine and we can support Meshery designs in this way, then I think there are still several questions that kind of could be discussed from the Meshery side about how the Meshery team would want to support kind of publishing designs as Artifact Hub artifacts moving forward, and putting this repository together manually. I would say it's not really a process lent for manual. It's very just like laborious. You're editing metadata files and things like that. So it's definitely made to be automated. So I think the question would be like, how would Meshery like to support that automation? Whether it's like some sort of ability to export a design or have the current kind of design export process kind of more closely align with what Artifact Hub expects. So there's some questions like that I think will come maybe after we get the basic structure approved.
Nice. There's a link in the Zoom chat, Yash, that offers a little more context. Uzair or others? Thoughts, questions, feedback?
Yeah, like I'm still like not sure about the second part of it, like how the actual integration would happen. So maybe like after they respond, as Chris said, we can discuss upon the automation or if that's automation is the case, then I think if we can leverage the existing Meshery.io repository, because it also like publishes catalog, has a similar structure that we like propose in the schemas repository. So, but yes, like I'm not entirely sure like how the flow would be. So
Yeah, that second thing that Uzair that you just said is maybe a healthy way to consider Artifacts Hub's vantage point, like the perspective from which the Artifact Hub maintainers look at each of these different artifact kinds. Because if you were to visit artifacthub.io, Yash, on the page they list out a number of different types of artifacts that you can find inside of Artifact Hub. And Artifact Hub, if you all don't know, is just another CNCF project. It's an index. It is the cloud native version of, oh man, this will date me, like LimeWire or like Napster or like some BitTorrent, like they don't have the artifacts. Artifact Hub just indexes them and says, and provides a convenient way to search through and find a Helm chart or a Caverno policy or a OPA policy or what have you. If you go to the main page and scroll down, there's a list of logos for the different kinds of artifacts that are supported. These are the kinds. Very conspicuously to me, there's something missing here. And Chris knows what I'm talking about. And it's a Meshery logo. Like, I don't, how can this be a real project if they don't have the Meshery logo up here? I'm not sure what's, anyway, Chris is chomping away at helping get helping Artifact Hub recognize Meshery designs. And so there's a couple, he's mentioning that there's probably a few steps that might be taken depending upon how deep the integration goes, but sort of one of the initial objectives is to state it very simply, is to just land the Meshery logo here and for it to say Meshery Designs. What Uzair was just mentioning, I think is healthy for us to recognize, I think, what's the default perspective for the Artifact Hub maintainers. So they've got this gnarly job of trying to index the artifacts from various cloud native projects. And so they go out, and so they need to understand the shapes and sizes of these various artifacts, the various characteristics of them. So they go out and read about they understand those types. Then thousands of other people come in and they say, oh yeah, I've been using Helm and we created a chart and we store our charts over there. And somebody else comes in and we store our charts there. And then there's, just using Helm as the example, there are many hundreds of, as a matter of fact, I can tell you precisely the number of Helm repositories that Artifact Hub tracks because Meshery integrates with Artifact Hub. I don't know if you guys know this, but nightly Meshery digests all of the Helm charts that Artifact Hub tracks. So Meshery tracks the tracker, anyway. So I think, so just okay, fine. So their default perspective, at least in my mind, is like, great, let's understand this type of artifact. And now let's link up to any number of repositories that might have, and to use the example of Helm charts, there's a Helm repo. If you go look at that repo, there's X number of charts inside there. There's 1 or 900. So the second thing that Uzair said, I thought was helpful to me. He had said, hey, Lee was just sharing that Meshery catalog, and the catalog was full of X number of designs. Wait a second, that's a repo. That's a Meshery repo that has 100-something Meshery designs. So it's like a Helm repo that has X number of Helm charts, but it's Meshery designs. So this repo, it's in the Meshery org. It's meshery.io. That's the name of the repo. It has, I'm not sure, about 100, less than 100 designs. So this is a great repo to be the first client, to be the first consumer of, or the first benefactor of Chris's work, I think. Yeah. Something to think about.
Any more thoughts?
Cool. And right now this catalog is a little slow, and there's a couple of contributors, Rudraksh and Abhishek, that are working on speeding it up. Great. Chris, did you already have that mindset, like that vantage point, or was there any amount of what I just said that was in any way helpful?
No, it is helpful. I think something that can become a little confusing, or not, I don't know if confusing is the right word, but you and I were talking, I think the other day, there's sort of a lot of, or there's different ways that it seems like Meshery can benefit from what Artifact Hub does, but maybe Artifact Hub can also benefit in some ways from what Meshery does. And so that back and forth becomes sometimes a little, especially like I'm new to the project, so it can sometimes be a little challenge to reason about in terms of like, okay, well, on the Artifact Hub side, what is it consuming from Meshery? What is Meshery potentially consuming from Artifact Hub? And like, how does that not just kind of become kind of confusing? So no, it's always helpful to hear perspective about like where it is now and maybe where we're trying to get it to.
Yeah, I'm so tempted to describe where we might go, but I will bite my tongue. I'm excited about step 4 or whatever step
Sure, that's always the best step.
Thank you, Chris. If anyone have questions like regarding the artifact, I will suggest you to connect with Chris or in any public Slack channel for getting more details. We all also shared the data issue that you can like look for, and if you want to review those PRs also. So let's jump to the next topic. If anybody don't have any other opinions on this. Okay, Saurabh, Sangram, would you like to share about the update to the provided doc clarifying the URLs?
Yeah, sure. I'm not in a position to share the screen though. I had to be somewhere, so I'm kind of a bit mobile. But I think that issue has notes from Lee already on a couple of things that he wants modified or added that will be done. If there is any other suggestions on improving the documentation, I'm open to yours on that. But this PR is basically to kind of clarify an important point there as to what the difference between the provider URL and the custom URL is. Because when I was doing the installation, there was I assume that both are the same, but they're not, right? The document is basically to clarify on that. So that's something that's an update from me, but I'll have to make some changes to the documentation, like I said. I would also like to add some updates on the. So, do we want to go through this PR now, or I move on to the staging update on the staging part, staging provider, playground?
Yeah, I'll vote for the staging playground if you don't mind, Sangram, only because I think it's more relatable to
Sure.
for everyone.
All right. So again, Yash, you'll have to help me with that. So staging-playground .meshery.io. That's the URL is live. And staging-playground. Okay, so where we just to give everyone a high-level overview on the playground, this is being deployed on a brand new cluster, a single all-in-one cluster with Metal LB as the load balancer. Assuming that we want to run playground as well as cloud both on the same server plus other applications and all of that, it made sense to have a load balancer in place in case we want to put more than one IP address in the future. So your entry point is Metal LB, and then we have emissary ingress from Ambassador. That is the next stage where we have all the routes and the mappings and everything in place. That will also help us add more mappings because again, we will have two host names running on the same IP address and all of that. And then the usual Kubernetes cluster, right? So as of now, that's the combination that's in place. Obviously, we have a certification manager for automatic renewal of certificates. That's a bit on the background of it. I had some challenges getting the mesh map working. So if you click on mesh map on the left, um, it threw an HTTP error. It's working for you, so I'm not sure if that's a problem with only my user ID or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, there's it's a good.
So this did not
There's-
work for me.
The whole thing doesn't load.
Yeah, it gives me an HTTP error on the API provider extension URL, or at least it was. I'm not sure. Maybe I had to sign out and sign in again to test. I had to kind of walk out, so I could not do that. But I'll go back and check again because the role was just enabled for me right sometime back. So maybe I needed to log out and log in back. I haven't. But yeah, looks like the mesh map is working as well. So I was assuming I have to do some troubleshooting around it. That's a good thing. Coming to the cloud part of it, which is where I have more updates. So cloud is a layer 5. Because I was having some challenges with Meshmap and the fact that I am still new to the whole thing, I was assuming that if time is of essence, we deploy cloud, obviously using Helm because that's what we had decided, and get the cloud working on the same server. And then later on, I work on getting the cloud deployed through Meshmap, which is what we were wanting to do it, eventually, right? So if that's of agreement, we can do that. But if we are not, bound on time, I guess I'll need some more time to kind of figure the whole deployment of cloud through Meshmap. So it's like we can install Meshmap in either of the two ways, depending on how quickly we want to get the whole thing up. But Cloud Native PG has been installed with a persistent volume, on the same drive as a mount. So that prerequisite in terms of Postgres is already in place. The only thing I have to do next is deploy cloud and also deploy the identity, right? I forgot the name, still new to me, but those are the two, pending deployments from a cloud perspective. Now, if we still want to go the mesh map route from the beginning, I can go back and delete cloud native PG, but that will take a bit of time, as there's a few more commitments that I have. So it's going a bit slow, is what I mean, right? That's the update I have from staging playground and staging cloud.
Who's there? Thoughts?
Yeah. So just asking a similar question that Sangram answered it. So like, what is the configuration for the backups and the persistent volume? So maybe you can shed a bit more light on it in the Slack thread. But I think we can, because we have a staging playground already set up and it is using a staging Meshery cloud environment. So I think we are covered up in this side. So you can take time and use Meshmap to provision layer 5 cloud, because the initial ask of we have a staging playground and also a staging Meshery cloud, so we can work with that till then as you provision layer 5 cloud using Meshmap.
Yeah, so Lee has a question. Why are we talking about a staging playground? I guess the initial, I'm not sure if that was for me or for, was a question for others, but I guess we, wanted to have a completely separate staging environment, both for playground as well as cloud. And that was the, origin of this thing. And we wanted both to be on the same server, same, Kubernetes cluster. So yeah, we are deploying the playground as well as the cloud. Having a separate staging for it. I'm not sure what your context was, but
Oh yeah, no, you yeah. You nailed it.
Like one small question is like, is the staging for playground also like in sync with the master? Like, does it continuously build on master?
No, it's not. It's a completely separate environment, and I guess some of the use cases that we can use staging for is so what's happening is we are promoting playground more and more with the end users, you can say. So we would want the community to do experiments probably in a staging, right? We don't want to kind of bloat the, I mean, again, coming in from my experience, we usually don't bloat production environments with experiments. So I guess playground dot Meshery.io is for putting it out there, in terms of words saying, okay, come here, experiment. So this is more for the end users who want to experiment Meshery for the first time. And gradually what can happen is staging can be for us to probably test out a catalog item before we really push it into the other part of it. So it's more to kind of isolate breaking experiments versus something that's more stable. That's what I think. If the intention has been something else, then I'm not aware of it, but I feel that's usually what production and staging means in general sense.
Yes, you are correct about the thing. Like why I wanted a staging breakdown.
Yeah,
Right. So those are the updates from me. I was also able to. So by the way, the issues with my playground were resolved, and I was able to publish one of the designs for the documentation. So I'm not sure who approves it, but just want to let you know that that's there. So if that can be approved, that'll be great. Thanks.
And the best of ways, some of these updates are harder and harder to keep up with. That's the most beautiful thing to me. Hey, I'll add a couple of I will try to attempt to quickly recharacterize part of what Sangram had just said, which was all entirely accurate. To put maybe a finer point on a couple of items, I would say that, hey, if you're unaware, Meshery has 2 release channels. And if you deploy Meshery in any of its forms, there is something of a subscription model in which Meshery itself watches for new releases of Meshery. And by default, it will let you know that there's a new release out there and to suggest that you upgrade. Or, depending upon your environment, it will auto-upgrade. Sometimes that can be scary for folks, so you can disable that. But anyway, the point is there's 2 channels, a stable channel and an edge channel. The way that these channels work is articulated on this page that I'm sharing a link to, and so you can come read all the details. But the gist of it is there's a stable channel. Every time that a Meshery release is made, anytime that one of you all clicks this button, you go into releases. There's about 20 or more of you or more that can go in and make a release. And we make these releases relatively frequently, in part because bugs are fixed. For a bunch of reasons. Let's talk about why that is another time. But anyway, we make releases, and to make a release, here's release training for everyone. Quick edit, quick publish. That's a stable release. There's a lot of automation around what all happens, and there's tons of things that get updated, and it works really well. There's been a lot of investment into it. That's a stable release. And just like Sangram was saying, part of that automation then is that the current playground environment that hopefully you all enjoy, there's a rolling up, well, technically it's not a rolling upgrade. There's an upgrade done, and it is upgraded about 30 minutes after you click that button. Great. And just like Sangram was saying, hey, for the edge release, for the edge channel, that's a new release is made into the Edge channel each and every time that someone clicks a merge button on one of these PRs, no matter what the PR is for. If it's for a GitHub workflow change or a documentation update or what, there's a new, okay, maybe I lied. Maybe we don't cut a new release of docs update. But point is, a new Edge release is made. That Edge release is not auto-deployed. I think in part to what Abid was asking is that the staging playground, well, is a perfect target for, and just like Sangram was saying, a perfect target for those Edge releases to be updated a bit more briskly, so people can see changes even more quickly, and then things can be promoted from staging to production and et cetera. So I just wanted to offer a little bit of that context, which was just adding to what Sangram had already accurately said. The second point of context that I'll mention is actually today or this week I'm meeting with 4 different CNCF staffers. Today it's the Senior Director of DevOps for the CNCF to talk about, well, the proposal that there's a CNCF playground or a CNCF hub, maybe. And that in essence, this thing that Sangram and other folks are working on, either it directly or another instance of it become a resource for everybody, and live on CNCF.io, live on that domain and be for all projects, and to significantly expand the exposure that Meshery gets and all of your work gets. And so that's the other reason why there's a staging playground being worked on, for us to all build up a bigger muscle around this motion of creating environments, deploying them, maintaining them, sustaining them. So, whew. All right. So Yash, you were saying a question.
Yeah, I have a small question. I was just asking, like, staging playground will be looking for the staging cloud as a remote provider, right? Or it will be looking for the
yeah,
cloud.
Right. The staging
Yeah, the
cloud.
provider URL is the staging Meshery.
Thank you for confirming.
So
Okay,
when you
so
signed in, were you able to sign in to staging Meshery? I hope that's how it worked, right? I was not really looking at it, but
just now
the
we did.
redirect should have been to staging Meshery.
Yep, just now on the call, we did sign in through staging Meshery.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you, Sangram.
All right,
Okay.
thanks. Yeah.
So let's jump to the next topic, which is from Saurabh. Saurabh, I think, are you with us?
Yes,
Saurabh?
yes. Can you open that link for me? Well, for the little bit of context, from my PR deals with the failing go linting CI action workflow, and it has the failing for the unit test in the Meshery CTL, which were missing the golden files for the onboard and offboard, and that has been fixed. Also, I have upgraded in for the download artifact from version 3 to version 4 for that.
Thank you, Saurabh. Is there any review? Ruby, would you like to give a review?
Yeah, I already approved it. It's ready to go PR.
Okay. Now no lint is failing, right? For the Meshery CTL.
Yes.
It hasn't been merged right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I think we are on time, so I'm looking for any important issue. Maybe Abid, would you like to share about the new feature, tech feature?
Yeah, sure. So in the latest release called Meshery, we released a new feature under feature flags. So this is for drawing edges on the canvas. So previously we already supported edges between components, but like we didn't have free falling edge, so we can just connect anything with anything and without any even connecting two components. So we can just draw edges on the canvas to annotate our infrastructure components. So if I have some component and I want to annotate it with something like I can just draw an edge and I can annotate it. So this is kind of a mouse mode. So we click on the pen and we get into this mode to draw edges on the canvas directly. And we can just also style them, like we already support styling. Most of the stuff is stylable and we can do anything with it. We can change the style of the edge and the type of the edge can be changed also. This can be like, if you are a new user, you might not have it enabled by default because it's under a feature flag right now. So the feature flag is the enable pen. It would be probably disabled for you and you won't have an pen icon here, but you can just go here in the preferences and enable it and you can experiment it. Then it would show up here and you can start drawing.
Thank you, Avid. Is there more features coming on this one?
Yeah, we are also developing new features like the pencil would be probably in the next release. Will see you can draw anything on the canvas and
Thank you, Avid.
it's a
Is there any
spoiler.
Thank you, Avid. Is there any review for Avid or any questions? Okay, so we have a question like what is difference between pen and pencil?
So pen would be completely, we could draw anything with a pencil, but pen is mostly for drawing vertical like and straight up edges, but pen is we can draw anything with the pencil, sorry. With pen we can only draw edges and straight lines. And we can also connect them and daisy chain these together to create something complex. Like if I want to create a triangle, I can just again connect this. And now I can move this together.
Sorry, I just noticed something, Abid. It seems you have to keep click the pen tool every time you need to activate it. Is there no situation where you click it once and then you keep drawing until you don't need it anymore, then you click on that button again? Because if the
Yeah, this
user,
was in the, like we already thought about this. We might have a complete mode where we can keep it selected and keep drawing these, but right now it's like we draw once and it gets disabled. Like I would draw it and we get again in the normal mode. But as we enable multiple mouse modes, we might have a shortcut or something to keep it completely enabled till user keeps on drawing and he can then
I think
deactivate it.
that'll probably be more ideal to reduce the amount of clicks. It's a nice one, man. Well done.
And I think user will be allowed to change the color and shape of these drawings, right? Okay. So there is no question from my side. Is there any question? Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you, Avid, for sharing this feature.
Thanks.
And let me share my screen.
Yeah, it's already released, so anybody can test it out.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. We are actually on time. So we missed a couple of items today. So is there any item which is urgent or would you like to discuss before wrapping up the call? I will wait for 5 seconds. Okay. So let's wrap the call. Just a small item from my side, which is for call for volunteers on this issue. So I have documented description in the issue so that you can know about that. I will be quick in this area. So the issue is like in currently Meshery, we are using RGSF library to create and generate forms. So if you look in the Meshery UI, you will find many forms are there over. And those forms uses a schema, RGSF library, which digests the schema and create a form in the UI. So currently they are using APIs to get those schemas, which gives issues sometimes of latencies and modal to open late. Now those schemas are moved to system. For those who are not know about what system is, you can like check out the link over here. And system is a design library which we use in the Meshery and others project of the Meshery. So you can like import those schemas now from the library itself. So we don't need to do that from the API, which will help us to remove that issue of latency. So I'm calling for volunteer if anybody would like to contribute in this regard. do make sure you comment in this. I will help you to get started if any issues you feel. I will also add some implementation and acceptance test after the meet so that you have guidance on what to do next. So if you have any issues or would you like to contribute, so do make sure you comment on this. Okay, so as we don't have any urgent items right now, thank you everyone for joining today's call. We discussed a lot of things. It was a productive meet. I will also encourage you if you are new to the community. I will also encourage you to join the newcomers meeting, which is tomorrow, and you can check out at the layer 5/community/calendar, and you can join the newcomers meet in which you can connect or ask any questions you have. Or also we raised in the layer 5.io. We are applying to participate in the Google season of docs. So you can read on the layer 5 websites. And if you have any questions regarding that, how to participate and how you can connect and what are the proposal you need to create, you can connect with or you can ask any question in the tomorrow's newcomers meeting. So thank you everyone for joining today. Have a nice day or have a nice evening. Bye everyone. See you next tomorrow's meeting.
See you, Yash. Bye, guys.